One of the main things which we've been looking at over the last 12 months in particular was looking at the amount of paperwork which is generated through our sales. In particular, we probably sell around 22,000 vehicles during the year. About 15,000 of those are to retail customers. Within a retail customer deal file, we would have upwards of 40 separate pieces of paper. If we multiply that up, I reckon we're somewhere around 1 million pieces of paper. And hence why we started into a project which looked at how could we store the paper from a digital format. Storing paper has been an issue for many companies, particularly over the last lot of years. Compliance has brought an awful lot more paperwork to our role, in particular complying with Financial Conduct Authority and other pieces of legislation. And as the need to store the paper for longer periods, some of the paperwork that we store we keep for over 12 years. So that's a lot of paper to have to be stored. Our premises are a certain size and we don't particularly want to increase the size of the premises just to store paper. In the early stages, I met with Paul Driver, who gave me an overview of what the system could potentially do. He encouraged me to map out our systems to make sure that was aligned with the system that had already existed. He then invited me to go have a look at it in situ. That was an interesting event because we got to see the system working in its entirety, and it gave me the confidence at that stage that I could recommend that to the board as a solution of what we were looking for. There was a lot of enthusiasm there when we got there. We were met by an MD who was absolutely committed to it and who had adopted it within his own business and managed to centralise administration from 6 separate sites geographically into one place. The team which went across to look at it came back very confident, and it wasn't very difficult to flip the switch and say that's the solution we need. And we came back completely excited about what we could do with the solution. Once we had mapped out the process, there were a number of other people who became involved from the mstore side, employees from Arena who travelled across to meet us, and we put together then, Arena then put together an implementation team who looked after our needs as we came through. We identified some of the changes we might have to make. Since we have gone live, there have been a number of other developments which we have mentioned, and I would have to say fair play to Arena. They've taken them on board, come back with a projected timescale for uploading the changes, and we hope to begin putting in our additional parts over the next 3 weeks. There's a temptation when you look at a system at the beginning that you want to make that system fit with your current processes, and you want to make it more bespoke and you want to change it. We took a different approach on this because we could see it working very well in the example of the place we went to. So we came back and thought, let's look at our processes and decide whether those are correct or not. And in some cases, we decided to change our process manually before we undertook the implementation of mstore. I think that it's important that you get it right on day one and that you map your business correctly and make sure that the systems that you're going to put in and the process you're going to put in and the workflow you're going to put in, make sure you've thought that through before you start. If you know your business, make sure that if you're setting a project team up, that you're bringing in the correct people who know the process within your system and can confirm it. We sent the workflows off. They came back with a few suggestions of how we can maybe amend them and change them, and it all went very smoothly. No company is comfortable with change, and I anticipated we would have difficulty with changing the systems and processes at our sites. It's actually been the opposite. A real surprise is how quickly the system has been accepted, but truthfully, it has been an absolute pleasure to put in. I've had no objections whatsoever, and even the people who are sometimes slow to accept have been great. One of the best suggestions that came in an early stage was to identify those administrators at the sites who were competent very quickly in using mstore. Not everyone will switch on straight away to a new system, but if you can identify the person who's most comfortable with it, identify them as a potential super user, then engage with that person so that when you're going into an implementation at a new site or an additional site, take that person with you as the super user, have their experience there, because they exude confidence from the very start, and people who are doing the same role as them at other sites can see that they're enthusiastic about how good their system is. Having those people in the training room assisting and has been a great help. So when I ask the staff, in particular the administrators who are dealing with the system on a day-to-day, how did I find it? They say that it's fabulous because it's actually taken the system that they were already using manually and doing it from a digital solution for sales staff. The only requirement that it's expected of them is that they know how to scan a document into the system. mstore as a solution is a very simple system for us to use. Customer buys a car and we have some documents which are created at the point of sale, 3 particular ones, and those are scanned and arrive at the admin queue. It's very similar to Microsoft Outlook inbox, and as the jobs come in, it's almost competitive from the administrators to clear the queue just the would with emails. So we don't need to encourage administrators to take the role on. They want to do it, they want to clear their workload down. The file will be passed then to the sales manager, who checks the content, authorises it and moves it to a completed status. So it's a very logical solution. It's what you would do if you were going to design it yourself.
It's going to help us with GDPR. So as the paper is processed, it goes directly onto the scanner to the administrator, and from there into confidential waste. It's unbelievable the amount of time saving mstore has created, which gives me the advantage then I can actually audit more files. On average at the moment we're auditing say 30%. Hopefully by the time we have the group completed we'll up that to 50%, which gives us a greater database then in the event of an FCA audit, that we have proof and evidence as to what level of compliance we have within the group. Now all our customers are getting 2 finance quotes, HP quote and a PCP quote, along with the gap quote. So they have to be given the terms and conditions, exclusions, limitations and price at the point of sale. And as long as it's all on the mstore, then we have the proof. At the moment, if we have, for example, a PPI claim, we have to go into archive, into storerooms, pull out boxes, look for all the documentation. Going forward, if a customer makes a claim about a missold gap policy or missold a PPI hire purchase or a PCP, all we have to do is go onto mstore, put in the registration number, and we have the deal file at our hand. Because you can see straight away if somebody's good at the deal file, terrific. However, it's very easy to identify then those that have limited capabilities of completing a compliant deal file. So automatically you know where you need to go and do additional training.
Once we had implemented the system across 6 of our 7 sites, I then started to think about how this might impact on other parts of the business. So far, we've had a look at it from an after-sales perspective, and I've been encouraging our financial team to have a look to see if it would also be a perfect solution for the sales ledger and purchase ledger systems. This is nothing new to Arena Group. They've done this many times before in other types of businesses. Although I I think we put quite a bit of work into the planning of it. I think if we had been making mistakes in the planning earlier on, I think Arena Group would have told us you need to rethink that process. Working with Arena has been comfortable. Not only comfortable, but I believe that if we were going to make the wrong move or make the wrong decision or make a mistake in how we set our process out and our workflow, I think Arena would have said to us at that stage, take a step back and have another think about this. And there are a number of points in the design of the workflow that they've helped and assisted with, because they've got a very experienced viewpoint on it, and you don't need to invent the wheel with it because they've already done it and they've done it with other companies. So I suppose we got the benefit of Arena having honed the need within the motor industry, and I'm quite sure that other companies within the motor industry will start to see the benefits that we have.